Goku training is far more intense than Saitama's, so for this what if to work, we'll have to say that Saitama's training works in Dragon Ball. So, Goku at the very start of the series was able to lift a whole car. As you can imagine, a car is extremely heavy. I think we can easily take this as confirmation that he can do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and since we've seen Goku be extremely agile even before training with Roshi, we can take that as a qualification for being able to run 10 kilometers every single day. Since he was 12 at the beginning of Dragon Ball, let's say he starts this workout when he's 9. Saitama only did his training for 3 years and was seemingly unstoppable, defeating all his enemies with a single blow. His biggest ever anime feat was the serious punch against Boros. This attack is said to be planet busting, so at bare minimum in 3 years of training, Goku will achieve planet level power. Raditz was pretty much our first introduction to planet busting villains, and if Roshi can destroy the moon, Raditz can definitely destroy the earth. So with all that said, Goku at the beginning of Dragon Ball has at least a power level of 1500. This doesn't change much at all towards the start of the series. He and Bulma pretty much do the same exact things as they would. Roshi can sense Ki to a degree, and when they meet Roshi, he's shocked by the power he feels coming off of Goku. He offers to train him, and Goku agrees to do so only after finding the Dragon Balls. He's also able to take out Oolong and Yamcha with simply one punch. When they get to Fire Mountain, instead of calling for Roshi, Goku simply fires a punch towards it, and the gust of wind created from that attack is enough to blow out the fire. The Pilaf gang are never able to capture the group because Goku is straight up way too powerful. He obviously isn't killing people here, but he's able to defeat them very easily. This means they're actually able to get the wish themselves here, but that means Bulma either wishes for a boyfriend or strawberries. Either way, it would be an inconsequential wish, so it doesn't really matter what it is. Goku then heads out to train with Master Roshi as intended. When he gets there, Roshi recognizes Goku's strengths, but can easily tell his weakness. He has bare minimum martial arts skill. He leaves himself wide open, depending on his power way too much. Roshi, however, can help with that. Krillin would also arrive on the island, as well as Yamcha. Being so easily beaten by Goku did not stand well with him, so he sought out training, and Roshi was the best way to do that. Goku introduces all of them to the training he's been doing, and this would greatly boost Krillin and Yamcha's strength. Also, Roshi picks up on it as well, because he needs to catch up with them in some way, shape, or form. But over time, the same training in Dragon Ball becomes pretty useless, so at some point they would need to start making their training more vigorous, which would only make them more stronger. Roshi may do this by having them do the workout while having weighted gear on, or just do the workout in greater numbers, in the hundreds or maybe even hitting 1000 push-ups. Either way, they get a huge boost in power from this, much more so than originally intended. The tournament starts with Krillin starting off. His opponent is Bacterian, and the dude smells a lot, but once Krillin realizes he doesn't have a nose, he demolishes his opponent. Jackie Chun then fights Yamcha, and this is actually a pretty good and close fight. Yamcha is very determined to get stronger, and with not only Roshi's training, but also Goku's, he's able to put up a great fight. At the end of the day though, Roshi just has more techniques up his sleeve. That's his trump card. His students are way too focused on power, but he has both power and technique. One of the techniques he uses is to stun Yamcha in the air, then uses a Kamehameha to take him out. The Nam and Ranfan fight goes the exact same, with Nam winning. Goku's first fight is against Giran. While him being able to fly is surprising, Goku has no challenge in defeating him. Krillin then takes on Jackie Chun, and his fight is extremely close. Krillin's power is pretty high, almost as high as Roshi's. Krillin is on the offensive from the beginning. He tries his best to land any punches he can, but Roshi dodges at the same speed. Krillin fires a Kamehameha, to which Roshi does the same. The two beams clash in the air, but Roshi's further experience with the technique allows him to hold it on longer, being able to defeat his next student. Goku then fights Nam, and this fight is relatively one-sided. Nam tries to use his cross-arm dive technique on Goku, but as he comes down, he sidesteps and lands a single punch to him, sending him flying out of the ring. In the final fight, it's Goku versus Jackie Chun. This fight is just as epic as before. Roshi knows he needs to do something to get the upper hand, but he can't think of anything. Goku's just way too powerful for him. Any attack he throws is countered, and he's taking the hurt. He tries to use his techniques to his advantage, and they do work on Goku, but do pretty much no damage to him. To make matters worse, the full moon comes out and turns Goku into an unstoppable giant monkey. Roshi starts to worry. How will he beat this thing? The ape starts to smash the ground and everything around it. Yamcha points out what they need to do is cut his tail, which the group attempt to do. However, Goku notices and tries to punch them away. Just the wind from his attack pushes the group back. Roshi then uses his bulk form and fires a Kamehameha, blowing up the moon. Goku then starts to shrink, and once he turns back into himself, he doesn't really remember anything. All is well, however, as the fight begins once more. But Goku is victorious, as Roshi had burnt himself out firing the attack to destroy the moon. Goku then goes on the hunt for his grandpa's Dragon Ball. On his journey, he unintentionally vows to marry Chi-Chi before fighting Colonel Silver. Goku launches a single punch that creates a shockwave as it collides with Silver. It easily takes him out, sending him flying for miles and miles on end. Goku then starts to take down Muscle Tower. His first challenge is Major Metallitron, but it isn't so much of a challenge. He fires a single Ki Blast at the Major, blowing him up instantly. Goku seems unstoppable. He easily defeats Ninja Murasaki, and the Bouillon Master may be invulnerable to normal attack, but Goku is able to send him flying out the walls of Muscle Tower instead. General White is also swiftly defeated by him. When the next Dragon Ball appears to be underwater, Goku thinks of trying something. He fires his strongest punch, and the wind and the shockwave halo from it splits the ocean in such a fashion that it resembles the Red Sea. They're able to retrieve the Dragon Ball easily, but General Blue attacks them. His ability to paralyze his opponents is the only thing that keeps him in the fight against Goku, but not for long as he breaks through it with sheer will. Blue looks terrified as Goku launches a punch at him, taking him out with ease. His next opponent is a very talented mercenary who goes by the name of Tao Pai Pai. This man is unlike anyone Goku's ever fought before. He's precise, dodges whenever Goku strikes. But that only lasts for about a second, as punches isn't all that Goku can offer this point. He too has some martial arts skill, and utilizes that along with his increased strength to best Tao. In his final battle against the Red Ribbon Army, he's able to take them out even easier than normal, simply firing shockwaves from his fist to destroy warehouses filled with soldiers. But he still has to find the last Dragon Ball, which leads him to Fortune Teller Baba. This arc would go pretty much the same, with minor changes being that the Z Fighters don't lose any of their fights. Gohan is still able to teach a lesson to Goku through pulling his tail off, showing him that strength isn't everything. This lesson sticks with Goku as he prepares for the next World's Martial Arts Tournament. This tournament introduces us to Tien and Chaozu, two of the students from the Crane School. The preliminaries remain the same, however the real change starts right in the first fight of the quarterfinals, Yamcha versus Tien. Yamcha, having trained with Goku, Krillin, and Roshi from the beginning, and having utilized the training Goku offered, is extremely powerful compared to his original self. He fights Tien on par, worrying the strongest Crane School fighter. How can Yamcha be this powerful, he wonders. Yamcha utilizes some of his newly learned techniques like the Spirit Ball, which Tien can't predict. When Tien fires a Dodon Ray at him, Yamcha punches it away like it's nothing. He then lunges towards his opponent in his signature Wolf Fang Fist to knock him out of the ring. This performance shocks the Crane School, and gives Yamcha a much needed confidence boost. Manwolf versus Jackie Chan just ends about how you would expect. Krillin then fights Chaozu, and this fight is a bit more interesting because of Chaozu's telekinesis abilities. He's able to stop Krillin from hurting him by freezing him. Krillin's power just simply isn't a factor, but this leads to outside the box thinking from Krillin. He uses the power of math instead to trick Chaozu and then knock him out of the ring. Goku then fights Pamput, and I don't think I have to explain this fight. Instead of Tien fighting Jackie Chun, it's Yamcha. With the confidence he gained from his last fight, Yamcha is ready to best Jackie Chun this time around. He won't lose like he did last time. Roshi isn't deterred though. He takes pride in his student, but still does his best to defeat him. Unfortunately for Roshi, Yamcha had been pulling late nights, while he himself had been slacking with launch, if you know what I mean. Yamcha comes out on top once again, and now he's really feeling it. Goku then fights Krillin, and this fight is a spectacle. Rival versus rival and friend versus friend. They give it their all, but it all comes down to the last punch. The two charge at each other and launch their strongest attack. Both land, but Goku's is stronger. He wins. The final fight, crazily enough, ends up being between Goku and Yamcha. Yamcha's really confident, considering his last two fights were almost too easy for him. But he is not happy to learn that Goku will not be as easy of an opponent to defeat. He's instantly challenged right at the start of the fight. Goku can counter almost all of his moves, but he's able to hold his own as well. Goku utilizes the after image technique to throw Yamcha off, and it works. He's able to then fire Kamehameha, which Yamcha tries to counter with one of his own. However, Goku is simply stronger than him, which leads to his Kamehameha overtaking Yamcha's, and so the victor remains to be Goku. Later on that night, the group head out to eat and celebrate, but Goku forgets his grandpa's Dragon Ball at the tournament ring. Krillin comes to the rescue, but as he arrives, Tambourine, a child of Piccolo, attacks him. However, he is not caught off guard at all. He easily dodges Tambourine's attack, swiftly attacking him back. With just a single punch, he defeats Tambourine, but only knocking him out. The group rushed to the scene as Goku felt something was off. They question Tambourine, which leads to all of them heading out to face the Demon King Piccolo. They don't have to look for long, however, as Piccolo finds them first with his children alongside him, drum and piano. Goku, Krillin, Roshi, and Yamcha face off against the Demon King and his minions. But before long, Piccolo's world-threatening persona is taken down. The group are just way too strong for him and his minions. Everyone easily wins their fights, and Piccolo is brought to his knees before Roshi uses the Mafuba to lock him inside the jar. He doesn't get enough time or strength to release Piccolo Jr., which means that we get 8 years of peace on Earth. During this time, there's one more tournament which goes about the same without Piccolo as the main villain. Chi-Chi and Goku would get married due to this tournament, and in this time also have Gohan. A Gohan who, much like Goku, starts his training at a very early age. But his early age is 3. While he isn't able to do the same level of workout Goku does, he can do more than the average person because he's a Saiyan. Speaking of, Goku's workout is far greater than the years before. He met with the God of Earth during the period of peace. Kami thanked him for stopping the Demon King from harming anybody. He asked if Goku had anything he wanted to ask for. Goku thought about it, and the only thing he really wants is to improve his training. To this, Kami used his clothing beam to increase the weight on Goku's clothes, and he continued to do this over time. This is just a more contained version of gravity training, and improves Goku's strength greatly. Eventually though, the time of peace ends, and Goku's brother Raditz approaches Earth. During the Kame House reunion, Raditz arrived and dropped a bomb on Goku's entire life. But this time, Raditz isn't getting his way. While Goku doesn't agree to do anything he says, Raditz can't exactly hurt him and force him to either. He tries to take Gohan, but without even seeing him move, Raditz is struck to the ground by his younger brother. The power level on his scouter reads above 100,000 before breaking, and that's Goku in suppressed. Vegeta and Nappa immediately get up and book it to Earth, and on Earth, Raditz is not killed by his brother. Goku instead tries to talk to him, even change his mind, but he isn't able to. The only thing that Raditz cares about is killing Frieza, who he tells Goku a lot about. He explains how Frieza is an emperor who most likely destroyed their home planet and now controls the remaining Saiyans like they're his slaves, which there are only 4 of to their knowledge. Goku feels for his brother and explains that they could take him on together if that's what he wants. He can show Raditz how to get stronger, and stronger is what Raditz wanted to hear. He's always been pushed around by Nappa and Raditz, by Frieza, everyone he's ever met, but he just needs to get stronger, and Goku shows him how. Knowing that they have a year before the Saiyans arrive, and already knowing that Goku can beat them with ease, that's not what they train for. They train for an even higher power, to defeat Frieza. Raditz explains how Frieza's power level is well over 500,000, which means they need to surpass that. In one of their training sessions, Raditz says something about Earth's gravity being nothing comparable to Planet Vegeta's, which catches Goku's attention. Gravity training, huh? That's sort of what he's been doing with his clothes, increasing the weight. It's pretty much the same concept, which leads to him and Raditz getting in contact with Bulma and getting her to make a gravity machine to train in, and every now and then even bring in Gohan. This gravity training is extremely beneficial. Remember that in 6 days, Goku went from 10,000 to 90,000. But considering he slowed down, let's say every 10 days instead of 6 days, he gets a 9 times power boost. That's still insanely broken. He has at minimum 6 months of training at this point. That's a little over 180 days, which means that he gets a 9 times power boost 18 times. But that's not all. This is with SAITAMA'S training working in Dragon Ball. So to lowball, let's just make that multiplying by 10. That means that the 9 times ends up being a 90 times boost 18 different times. So in total, Goku and Raditz get a 1,620 times boost, and Gohan would get about a quarter of that, so 400 times for the amount of training that he does, after increasing his base power to, let's say, about 100. If that didn't make sense to you, pretty much they're just a shit ton stronger. So Goku has a power level of 324 million, Raditz has a power level of 2.4 million, and Gohan has a power level of 40,000. When Vegeta and Nappa arrive, all they have to do is use their scouter once to realize that they don't even stand a chance, in the slightest. Goku is pretty easily able to convince them with a single show of his power that they have no chance. The problem with this show of power is that Frieza's army had seen it through the transmitter on the scouter, and Frieza is already on his way to Earth, something that Vegeta realizes quickly. It's difficult for them to have to stop it with the pride stuff, but if they want to live, they have no choice. Vegeta and Nappa join the group. It'll take Frieza about a year, which leaves him quite a lot of room to train. While Vegeta and Nappa have to adjust to Earth, and that's certainly difficult, the training helps them stay grounded. If all they focus on is defeating Frieza, the thoughts of wanting to kill the low-class Saiyan stays out of their head. But that doesn't really mean much when Raditz is able to defeat them in training. This only further motivates them to train up and try different ways to get stronger. That's when the Great Ape comes into question, as well as Zenkai's. Vegeta and Nappa are struggling to get to the level that Goku and Raditz are on, so they try to work on their Great Ape form at the same time. They already know how to control it, but what if they trained in it? This allows for a lot more aggressive training, and one that causes a lot more harm to the people that are training, which results in stronger Zenkais. At this point in the story, Zenkais can cause crazy power boosts, and this allows for the two to catch up somewhat while Goku and Raditz focus on training Gohan with their respective styles. Instead of Bulma meeting Vegeta, it's Raditz. He had been on Earth for almost a year longer than Vegeta, and had a lot more time to interact with her, which causes the two to get together. Frieza now approaches Earth, and the 5 Saiyans, along with human Z-Fighters, face off against the army. It's safe to say that no one in the army is an issue for them, not even the likes of the Ginyu Force. They're reduced to the human Z-Fighters, and everyone puts their focus on Frieza. He powers up into his final form, realizing the threat at hand. Everyone tries to fight him, but they end up fighting each other to get the opportunity to fight Frieza. In the end, Goku allows his brother to do it, considering his history with Frieza, and Vegeta and Nappa can't exactly fight the two and win, so Frieza faces off against Raditz. Raditz puts everything on the table right off the start. His power literally shakes the earth and puts Frieza in a trance. Raditz brings the hurt to him, all the suffering he's endured because of Frieza, his parents dead because of Frieza, his life ruined because of Frieza. With a double Sunday, Raditz instantly eradicates Frieza from the face of the earth and puts a rest to the Empire. Vegeta and Nappa are aggravated, annoyed at the fact they didn't get to fight. They finally get hostile. Nappa launches a powerball, turning himself, Vegeta, and Raditz into Great Apes. Raditz can't control himself in the form, but the two proclaimed Elite Saiyans can. They target their collective effort to take down Raditz first, but Goku jumps in to help alongside Gohan. The two don't know what to do, but they just attack the Great Apes, hoping to do their best. On the ground, the Z-Fighters work to take on Nappa, but his power far exceeds their own. In the effort, Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu all die. Krillin is the last to stand, and is bleeding out. Before he does though, he prepares one last attack, a Destructo Disc. Goku in the sky is trying to fight Vegeta with Raditz, who's extremely weakened by the attack he endured earlier. Goku was able to snap him out of the rage he felt by reminding him of everything he has on Earth, Bulma, himself, and a nephew. Goku and Raditz launch an onslaught at Vegeta, with Goku firing a Kamehameha, but to no avail. This power may be too powerful for even him to take on. He tries to strike Vegeta with his strongest punches, but that only takes him so far before he's swatted like a bug. Down on the surface, Krillin fires a disc, and it connects with Nappa's tail. But when the ape falls, Krillin has no strength to move out the way. He telepathically tells Goku goodbye before perishing. Goku cries out for his friend, but it's too late. As Nappa turns back into human, Goku sees Krillin's corpse. A rage like no other takes over him, and his hair starts to spike up and change color. Goku starts to turn into a Super Saiyan. His power is so great that Vegeta's Great Ape is pushed back by just the aura of it. Raditz looks at his brother in awe, amazed at the power. Vegeta isn't as pleased with this discovery as Raditz, however. Not only does this anger him to an unfathomable degree, but it also scares him. Goku's power was already too much. Now they're surely screwed. Goku is relentless. He doesn't hold anything back. First, he brutally dismantles Nappa, beating him within an inch of his life. Nappa isn't in great shape, but Goku just can't bring himself to kill the Saiyan. However, Raditz is easily able to do the honors. The same thing happens with Vegeta. The Saiyan tries to fight back against Goku, but it doesn't get him far. Goku cuts off his tail with a Keyblade attack and continues to lay a beating far worse than Vegeta could have imagined. Raditz then finishes Vegeta off as well. A short period of time passes. Raditz and Bulma are officially together and even have a kid. It's still a he, and we'll assume Bulma picked the name, so it will be Trunks. Speaking of Trunks, around this time, the future timeline Trunks does return to the spot that his mom told him to. He's worried, however, when he discovers that there's no one there. King Cold had already made his way to Earth sooner to avenge his son, but didn't get very far. Trunks flies to the closest familiar place he knows, Capsule Corp. There he meets Bulma and even sees his younger self. But that's odd, he wasn't even supposed to be born for another year. Another thing he notices is some strange man with long hair roaming around. He asks where Goku is, and goes to him. At Mount Paozu, Goku and Gohan are continuing to train, and Trunks interrupts to inform them of the android threat, as well as Goku's death to the heart virus. This shocking revelation forces the group to once again get together and continue their training, even harder than they did before. Trunks leaves and returns 3 years later, only to find out that the androids in this time are different than the ones he faced. Due to the stronger Z-Fighters here, the androids would also be significantly stronger, and Goku Super Saiyan would still remain a shock to them. If you guys take into account that Trunks went Super Saiyan 3 years before the android arrived in the original story, yet Jiro was still shocked at seeing Goku Super Saiyan, this means that the androids were well underway when the Super Saiyan form was revealed, and Jiro had officially stopped researching the Z-Fighters, not knowing about the Super Saiyan form. Yamcha luckily doesn't get impaled because he's capable this time in the story. Goku takes on 19, and when he goes Super Saiyan, his power immediately skyrockets. So much so that 19 is defeated before his heart virus strikes. Goku is escorted back home to take the medicine, while Raditz, Trunks, Gohan, and the other Z-Fighters follow Jiro to his lab. Without Vegeta there, the group act logically and try their best to stop the androids from starting in the first place, and they're unsuccessful. Yet, try their best to stop 1718 when they do eventually come out. Raditz and Trunks use Super Saiyan, but it only gets them so far. The entirety of the Android Saga goes the same, but the Cell Saga has changed pretty heavily after Cell shows up. He does most of the same stuff, except instead of Piccolo, he would most likely face off against the Z-Fighters, causing a couple deaths at the least. After he absorbs 17, he faces off against Raditz, who had just come from the Time Chamber training. This is when the big change happened. Raditz went in with Goku instead of Goku going in with Gohan. This allows for the two of them to have Grade 4 Super Saiyan and beat Semi-Perfect Cell before he achieves perfection. 7 years would pass, mostly things would go the same, with Vegeta being replaced by Raditz. The Buu Saga goes about the same until Deborah is pretty much defeated. Babidi realizes they don't have enough power and attempts to take over Raditz, but since there's no want inside of Raditz to best his brother or any evil intent at all, he's able to resist the mind control, and therefore, Buu never gets released. After that, it's safe to say that everything goes the same. Raditz just replaces Vegeta in most events. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and 2 great years on YouTube. I've grown and I've learned so much from my time on the platform, and I will not be leaving anytime soon. With that said, make sure to like and subscribe. Shout out to the members Mystic Angel, the legendary Super Saiyan, and Aryanarian. If you guys want to become members, then click the join button down below this video. You can find the link in the description where you'll also see my Discord server, so consider joining that. Last but not least, as always, massive shout out to the creator of the thumbnail, PataraX. Go show him some love over on DeviantArt. With all that said and done, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy Saiyan, and I'll see you all next time.